Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Sherletta Germain. My nickname is Shet, that's Shet, for those of you who are looking for a regular vernacular. And today I have a special guest. They say the third time is a charm, so you have no idea what we've gone through to get this show on the road, but I digress. So today I would, number one, like to welcome you all to the Shet Show, Abundance Conversations. This is a dynamic and inspirational podcast series hosted by myself, Sherletta Shet G, and the ever insightful God brother Larry Penton, also known as LP. Who could not be here with us today because he is not feeling well. So prayers to him and his wife as he's recovering, all right? But in each episode, we bring you conversations that resonate with the spirit of abundance, success, and personal growth. Our show features thought-provoking discussions with remarkable individuals who have transformed adversity into triumph and now serve as beacons of inspiration for others. So join us as we delve into their journeys, exploring their accomplishments and uncovering the life lessons that have empowered them to thrive. In this particular episode, we have the honor and the privilege of hosting a true visionary and an entrepreneur, Pastor Richard Braceful, known affectionately to me as Pastorpreneur. Richard's incredible story of redemption, resilience, and resourcefulness have taken him from the depths of adversity to becoming a highly successful business owner and entrepreneur. Pastor Richard Braceful's journey is an extraordinary testament to the human spirit's capacity for transformation. After overcoming incarceration, he emerged with a powerful mission to help others learn the correct way to navigate the worlds of trucking, home ownership, and penny stock investments. Richard's dual roles as a thriving entrepreneur and a devoted pastor and husband exemplify the harmonious balance between financial success and spiritual fulfillment. So in today's episode, we'll explore Pastor Braceful's remarkable achievements in real estate and church ministry and uncover the secrets behind his success and gain valuable insights into his passion for mentoring others to achieve financial abundance through ethical practices. Pastor Braceful, it is an honor and a privilege to meet with you today. How are you, sir? And I've done enough talking. I'm going to mic down. I want you to go ahead and share with the listening audience who you are, again, from your own words, where you hail from, and what brings you to the show. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Shed. I appreciate you having me today. I am Pastor Richard Braceful, and I hail from Detroit, Michigan. And I am a trucking owner of a trucking company. And we started in 2014, and we are currently in our 9th year. We started with a small cargo van, and we moved from there to a larger Sprinter van. We moved from there from box trucks to 14 to 26 foot box trucks, and we moved from there to purchasing semi tractor trailer. I'm very passionate about the business, especially trucking. It is one of the things that I do besides real estate investment and investment in stocks and cryptocurrency. The trucking is our first business and our passion. And we made a lot of discoveries along our journey. And there was a lot of knowledge gained in year 1 through 9. And without anyone to mentor us, we had a lot of trial and errors that we made and a lot of things that we ran into that we weren't educated about. In regards to the trucking business and the financial end of it and the administrative end of it. And so I'm very passionate about sharing that information with others that are interested in starting the business and that want to avoid the pitfalls that the business can bring. It is a very lucrative business, one with very small amounts of startup capital compared to regular businesses, but that you can turn into a 6-figure plus income. The sky is really the limit. based on what vision or what you desire you have and goals you have to accomplish. And so I'm passionate about sharing that with others. You stated something in your introduction. I am incarcerated, or I was incarcerated twice. Um, um, my last exit or return was 2011. And so after establishing some family connections and doing some groundwork and some foundation work, we set out in 2014 to start that business. So if I can start a business in transportation from where I've come from, with the knowledge that we're able to share, anyone can start this business. And so I've always had a passion for helping others and being there for someone that can advance their goals and their dreams in their lives. As you also stated, I enjoy real estate, purchasing houses, and I've purchased many houses without credit or without documentation, financial documentation being presented. Um, and I've done that in creative financing ways where I also share with others, so that no matter what spectrum you're on, you can purchase your own home. And of course, you understand that being involved in trucking and being involved in real estate investment, it produces a certain amount of capital. And so that your capital doesn't get away or you don't waste it, we've developed some areas to put our capital in. And my wife and I enjoy penny stocks, and we enjoy cryptocurrency as investments in places along with real estate. And of course, the purchasing of trucks and vehicles as places to put those revenues and that money, so that we have a continual flow of income and streams of income that we'll be able to live off of no matter what the times are. And so I feel like I've talked enough. So anything you'd like to ask me, I'm here to share that thing, question, share what knowledge I have.
Well, here at the show, Pastor Braceful, we definitely do the one mic. I feel like it's important. This show is specifically all about you. So I love for you to talk, but I want to say to the listening audience, if you all have been following me for any length of time, you know how delicious and exciting this conversation is to me. I'm all about all things abundance. And so this is a very organic conversation. I typically always frame questions to give us an outline, because people get nervous, people get chatty Cathy, or, chatty whoever, right? So I do have an outline, but if God leads me to another way or to ask, I always allow that flow to be in these conversations. So we just did the warm up. I was trying to pull my questions up, but I'm going to just go over here. And so my first question, as we go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into this conversation and your professional and personal life, tell me about from tough times to today. How did you go from a very difficult situation, which you've previously been discussing, to being both a pastor and a successful business owner? Was there something, what inspired that change in your life, Pastor? The mic is yours.
Well, my faith always plays a role in everything that I do, and establishing a faithful relationship. I moved into accomplishing some goals and some things that I enjoy. Something about my background and my history is I started driving at 14 to 15 years old. And I've always enjoyed driving. And when I began to reestablish, returning citizens have difficult choices. And being a returning citizen, I had the choice of trying to convince employers that I was employable, and that my background and my history and the way I looked on paper was not really me. That task of convincing employers, that was a very difficult task. And I had a support system around me that gave me the assistance that I needed. And I realized some people don't have that support system. And so I was able to crawl around a minute on jobs that were offered to me, lower paying jobs that were not really livable wages, but I looked at them as a start. And so in my starting, I began to see that I needed to make another decision and another choice in my transition that would help us live in a career or a financial place that was livable for us and something that we could survive off of. So my first job after incarceration was a $10 an hour standing in front of a T-Mobile, holding a sign, twisting it around to draw people into the T-Mobile because that was the only job that I could find. And so from that point, I learned some things about transportation from reading, from studying, and I happened to purchase a van about a year after I was incarcerated. I happened to purchase a van, and I took the seats out of that van and just began to use it for transportation. So I would apply with third-party contractors. My driving record was good. Of course, when you're incarcerated, you don't have any tickets for the previous year. So my driving record was good. And just putting insurance on that van, and it was a 17-year-old van. Putting insurance on that van allowed me to drive for third party customers that were out there delivering. So I ran across a few companies that had advertising for third party contractors, and I applied and was given an opportunity to work with those third party excuse me, to work with those third party contractors and develop my own business and contract myself. And so I parlayed that information and that knowledge that I got in the third party world regarding transportation and how contracts were formed and how authorities were formed and what you needed to develop your own transportation business. And so I did that for about 3 years before I launched into my own business. And I went ahead and made sure I did the things that I needed to do as far as have a good reputation and be on time and do those things that would attract customers. And then I began to approach customers about my own contracts. And of course, as the work come, you add vehicles that meet the condition of the work. And you learn, the market and what's necessary for you to do in the marketplace to be competitive, and also to bring in the financial goals that you set up for yourself. So that's what we did, and we continue to advance. And here today, we are moving away from everyday working and developing contracts in medical transportation to where we can retire soon and focus on some of the other things that are a part of our spiritual life and our faith that we need to do.
I love it, Pastor. I thank you for that input. And I know you talked about a little bit for the penny stocks and the investing upon the introduction of the show. But as a pastorpreneur, right, which is basically an entrepreneur and a pastor combined, for those of you that are having issues with that name, talk to us about a little bit how you delved off into the cryptocurrency, specifically the penny stocks, right? Because I do know some things about trading. There are some people that are, they find that trading is very daunting, right? And so cryptocurrency goes at a warp speed, which is what people like. But gathering that information is sometimes a little bit, can be a little bit overwhelming. So in in thinking about how you became an investor into that particular area and tapping off into the real estate if you want to, let's probably just stick to the cryptocurrency for a second. What was a segue that led you into that market to be able to use that as a stream of income for yourself and your community?
Well, I've been fortunate to, and I believe this happens to everyone that seeks to live a life where they help others. And the life that they live is not just about themselves, but it's about their community, and just reaching out to others and building relationships. During my time in my business, in my transportation business, I've discovered other people that were just as passionate in the areas of business that they are. And so one of the friends that I discovered, and I was introduced to, had relationship in the stock market, and the currency market, that extends back, especially the stock market, more than 20 years. And then his information over the last 10 years in the cryptocurrency market, he was willing to share that as an exchange with me. And we shared information, and I shared information with him about transportation, and trucking, and the different areas of business that I was in. And he shared information about me. I'm a part of a group that we have an app where we share information concerning what currencies and how to spot and look at those things that might be viable. And so when we deal with life as a community, and I believe this passionately, when we deal this with life as a community and not just as an individual, then we're able to tap into knowledge that is in that community, that we're building. That we bypass the learning curve that would take somebody 4 years or 10 years. We bypass that learning curve, and we begin to develop a knowledge in that area, based on the relationships that we build. And so we're a part of this app, and we share information, and we chat about different things that we've read and different stocks that we read up on. And everybody's got a passion for something, and we share information, and we make decisions based on information that's shared by the group. And so we're taking advantage of the knowledge, because when you're running a trucking business, especially as a pastor or any one that has a full-time career, reading the information that you need to read to stay current on 5 or 6 different businesses is very difficult. However, if one person is concentrating on one business and another person is concentrating on another business, and then we meet together, whether it be in a forum or whether it be in person, then we can have the basis of knowledge from that person that's passionate in that area, that we can use to build our own life and our own goals and our own finances with. And so that's basically what we've done by relationship. We've gained knowledge and information enough for us to invest, and it's not on a $1 million level, but it's on a level to where you can use a stream of income to add to what you're doing, to develop a comfortable living wage and a comfortable level of financial freedom that gives you the choice of whether you want to work or not. And it's not you forcing yourself to have to go every day, even when your health and other things dictate that you should do something different. So that's how I got into the penny stock and the crypto. And we currently have 4 accounts that are open that we enjoy. And we're looking for explosions in those particular areas. And so every week, when we're coming to the end of our week and we see we made a profit this week, We get to the month and we see that we made a profit that month. Well, we make a determination once we know the business has enough finances. We make a determination. Well, what are we going to do? Are we going to invest this? Because currently, most banks' interest rates are 1% or less. So to leave finances in the bank is not really the return of investment. Is not really something that you can um, create a livable wage off of. So we invest our money where we can get a return of investment that creates a livable wage. In other words, another stream of income without us going to work or putting our hands to anything. So that when something happens like sickness or an accident or anything, then we're able to survive or weather the storm of that particular incident because we have multiple streams of income. One of the things that I like to do is I like to share some of the issues that I have. And being a pastor, I have people that confide in me concerning living and housing situations. And our area in the Detroit, Michigan area is an area where to live in a rental neighborhood, it would cost you somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month for a quality neighborhood. And so, with that rate rising so rapidly and the wages not rising rapidly, just displacing a lot of people outside of a comfortable living area and making them live in conditions that they shouldn't live in. So we began to invest in housing, and we began to share knowledge concerning housing with others that we knew were running into the problems. Because sometimes there would be landlords that wouldn't pay taxes on the houses, and the tenants would start getting notices that the house was being foreclosed on, and they paid their rent every month. And they're faced with eviction from foreclosure because the new owner doesn't have a relationship with them. Some of them are living in month-to-month situations where they don't have leases where they can go to court and say, I should be given enough time. And so you can possibly pay your rent every month and then be evicted. And so dealing with those situations, I felt passionate about sharing with um, those that I ran across in whatever position I ran across them in, of how to develop the power to control their own living situation with home ownership. And in our area and in our market, you can buy a house for as little as $1,000. It'll take a lot of work to make that house livable. But if that's where your situation and your circumstances is, then you have to network on that level to bring that house up to a living, a place where you can live and dwell there and have safety for your family. But if you are working and you do have a measure of secure income or stable income, then there are ways where you can purchase a home that's in a nice neighborhood. And you can do it in a way where you don't have to worry about bank qualifying, or you don't have to worry about putting 20% down and closing costs and all of those things that takes years to save. There are ways to bypass that. And so we share that with people that are in a situation where they need to come out of rentership and go into home ownership, where they can control the narrative for their lives. And so those are the three areas that we're passionate about. Other things spiritually, but I'll leave that for another show. But in business, that's where we move and where we navigate around at.
Well, Pastor, that was a lot of insightful information. Some of the it answers a little bit of the questions that I have coming up, but let's talk about a work-life balance, right? You are a busy man, a husband. You are a father of 8. How do you balance your spiritual life with your church membership and your careers and your family?
Well, I don't want to take too much credit because I have an outstanding support system, and I have an outstanding congregation, and an outstanding family unit and family dynamic. Um, my children, the eight of them, seven of them are grown. And so they range from the ages of 29 and 36. And so they help me tremendously with everything that we do. While it was a struggle in the beginning when they were younger and trying to keep food on the table and manage schedules and everything, um, I have a queen in me that were able to get through that time, and now it's paying great dividends for us. So they help me balance every area of my life, and so it's not a job of one; it's a job of many. And everybody understands their skill set and their knowledge, and they're willing to sacrifice their time to build something that'll be around for generations. We're not just building something that'll make a comfortable life for us. We're building something that'll be around for generations, to where our children will be able to live off trust funds and will have financial freedom to make a choice whether they want to start their own business, or whether they want to get educated to become doctors and lawyers and whatever it takes the longest to be educated with. And finances is not the reason why they're not doing it, but we want them to have those opportunities. So we're building something not just for our living today, but something for the future. And so that time management is important. Faith is important. But to accomplish multiple businesses and to flow in multiple areas of life and create multiple streams of income, it takes a great support system.
Absolutely. I actually have a question for you, and I know that you tapped into this, but I want you to unpack it a little bit more. Your passion, we hear your passion, right? Well, me, because it's just me and you in the studio. And then when the world hears it, they'll also hear your passion. But in a world where there's so much selfishness going on and people are so consumed, sometimes not even with selfishness, just trying to keep their own lives together, you found a way to not only build a system for you and your family, but you found a way to incorporate that to be able to help the community, and as you said, in groups. So what is that in you that sparked something that said, I want to be a steward. I want to be actually out here on the ground running, helping people on a spiritual and cellular level?
Well, being who I've been created to be, and utilizing the gifts that is in me, there's something that's in me that I can't take credit for, that moves me to do what I do from day to day. And so I won't say that this is something you can that everyone can generically do. There has to be a passion in you, and there has to be something in you that goes deeper than you, that lets you see that it's more important for you to do things for the whole than it is for you to do things for yourself. And love is truly a selfless act in most cases. And so if God has placed that love in us and those gifts in us, where we do things based on His strength and His power, then we can't take credit for it. It's Him doing it in us and just making us wake up every day and having a desire when we see problems to create answers, and when we have struggles, having compassion enough not to want to see the next person have that same struggle. And I have children that are going through things in life that they've spoken to me about, that it's not generic to my generation. Well, we had to deal with racial issues and other things in my generation. Some of the things that they're having to deal with in this digital age and the social age is different. So when they come to me with different issues and we sit down and we come together and we pray and we say, please reveal to us how to solve this issue. And it comes from somebody and it comes from somewhere, that solution and that answer somewhere in the community. And we get the answer for it and we all flow together to make sure that that thing is taken care of. And the person is well and the person is whole. And the person is able to grow and share that. At the same time, we have to document what we do. And sometimes the documentation doesn't look good. Me being twice incarcerated, it looks like, why should I listen to him? You know, um, it doesn't look good. But if we're transparent in who we are and what we've overcome, then it'll help us to connect with those that know that we've been where we've been. I was just talking to a young lady that is raising her son this weekend. I was just talking to her, and she's raising him by herself. And I was sharing with her that this is uh, an opportunity for you to bring your son into a community where somebody will help you, because even though it feels like you're by yourself, you're not by yourself. And I shared with her that I shared some of those same issues, that when I was 8 and 9 years old, my mother and father divorced. And my father kind of divorced us. And so trying to navigate a young man and trying to navigate my teenage years without that male role model and that male force that was there made me passionate about being there for somebody else, and allowing young men to have a big brother, an uncle, someone that cared about their destination, um, that they would have somebody there to uh, be a support system for them. And so I'm passionate about it from that regard as well. And I think this is everybody in life. We have issues that we go through, and we have situations that we go through. And once we get to the situation where we can sit down and examine that situation, we go, man, I don't want anybody else to have to go through this. And I tell young men concerning incarceration, it's not something you really want to go through, because you really don't see the real picture on TV of what it is. And uh, if I can help them not go through it by sharing them what it really is, and pointing out the traps and the pitfalls that get them there on the highest level, because they exist on the highest level. And so if I can point that out to them, I don't know about anybody else, but that's my filet mignon steak dinner for the night. That's my enjoyment, for that particular day. And every time I see them every day after that, that they're on the right course. And we've helped a mother get them from 11 to 21, and now they're in college and they're making the right decisions. And so what life deals to us is not to destroy us. What it deals to us is for us to figure out how to get through it, and then create um, ways for us to help others that are in the same situation, build a bridge for them to walk out as well. And if that brings you joy, then I want to talk to you, because you have similar passions and similar gifts and callings that I have, because um, that brings me lottery winning joy. That brings me joy, like I just left with a new car, or a new house. That's the kind of feeling I get uh, when I'm able to do that for somebody that they couldn't do it for themselves.
We're getting ready to get up out of here in just a little bit, but I normally try to stay as contained as possible during these conversations, because it's not about Sherletta. This is about abundance. in its purest form, and how amazing it is to have something that you're passionate about. And that's not only duplicatable, right? But that's probably, like you said, for another show. What I wanted to say was I was 44. I was a little bit late for my first mammogram, and I found out that I had breast cancer essentially on my lunch break. And I remember working for a consulting firm, and I remember having to finish up my day with my 10 consultants, or maybe 13 on my desk that particular day. I had to drive an hour and a half home to my children, who at that time were 5, 8, and 15. I had to go over homework and put them into bed after serving them dinner. And then I could unpack this cancer diagnosis that I got. And I had to figure out a way to navigate through that cancer bus. And my prayer was, if you, God, I know it's been a minute, right? I'm still your kid. And if you let me live through this diagnosis, I'm going to be a floodgate and a voice box for those that have been silent for too long. My desires for a nonprofit are something that we won't talk about on the show, but I feel that it is a disadvantage for a person that's already struggling to have to decide whether or not they're going to have to pay for their chemo or walk outside after their treatment and their car is repossessed, or you have to pay for your prescriptions or your mortgage or your rent. That's where my passion is, man. We got to do something to fix that. And so knowing that there are vessels, right? There are vehicles to do things like what you're doing. I'm so honored to have this conversation, and I'm miking down because I see you got to say something.
I gotta say this. I've learned this. I just turned 56 years old. Trust me, if you're going through something, there is an answer. Someone has that answer, and they have that help for you. And they don't want anything. And when I say they don't want anything, there is a joy that comes from just helping you, especially when you're serious and you get it. When you're not trying to find another vehicle to manipulate, but you really have a life issue where you're trying to get out of something. And this is for another show, but I'm 17 years clean from alcohol and drugs. Um, January 20th is my birthday, and every year, and it's not my born birthday, but it's the birthday that I got the strength to overcome those issues. And anybody want to ask me how, and I'll tell them how, but I'll stamp 17 years of experience with what I can tell them. And so I can share with them that there are going to be good days, that there are going to be days that are not better than that are not better than the days that you had before in the past in your addiction, but you can overcome. And there are places and people that really care about what you're going through. And so don't think that there's no answers and that there's no help. And that I had a person tell me that there's no possibility that you can buy a house when you don't have any money. I don't have any money. How am I going to buy a house? And then I pulled them paperwork out of a gentleman that sold me a house that was moving to Texas, and he couldn't pay rent and a mortgage in two different places. And so he sold that house to me for zero down on land contract. And we completed the process, and I did end up paying for the transfer fees that the county charges you to transfer deed from one person to another, which were minimal, less than my week's pay. But I got that house for no money. I didn't have to save for it. I didn't have to, and it's just an answer for everything that we go through. And somebody, it's not isolated. We're not the only one that's going through it, but by isolating ourselves by ourselves and not being a part of that community, then we lose that opportunity for great things to happen. I had
Um, which is, it's kind of, I mean, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and we are getting ready to get up out of here. But as a licensed life and health insurance agent, I'm in the financial services industry. I'm tapping into the real estate market, but I am astounded by the statistics that 74.4% in 2022 white Americans were able to get home loans and home purchases, where ours in the Black community was about 44%. We have to do something to change those numbers. And I feel like, Pastor Braceful, you're going to actually be able to do it. Why don't you go ahead and give us some advice, or actually the 3 things that you're going to be working on, some upcoming projects?
There are some things that we are working on trying to put together. The one thing that is a negative about being 56, if I just have to say something, that's a negative. I left home before a cell phone was a purchasable item for the average person. I left home before the internet was up. And so I was on my own having children before the internet is up. So we are believing and tapping into resources where we can put the information that we have experienced digitally, so that we can put that out to people at an affordable level, where we can reproduce it and send it to them, to where they'll have access to that knowledge, and that they'll be able to have a line where they can call when they get stuck somewhere and go, okay, you're right, this is the process, but this is what I run across and I'm stuck. And so we'll be able to share with them or connect them to the right people that can help them get unstuck. And we're launching transportation coaching to show you how to get started in the transportation business, from your first LLC to your authority, where you can drive locally, to your authority where you can go in the country in Canada and Mexico. And drive. We spent 2 years in our transportation business going to Penetanguishene, which is a town outside of Toronto. We spent 2 years driving there 3 days a week, and people told us we couldn't go into Canada because we had a criminal history. And that's just fake. That's not accurate news. And we went there for 2 years legally. And we did business there. And so I'm believing and trusting that I have, and we have the right people that can bridge that gap and put this information out digitally, where we'll be able to show you these things, and you'll be able to have a how-to, and you won't have to spend the type of money that will upset your household budget to get this knowledge, and you'll be able to receive it for what we pay for our cell phones and less. And it's amazing that the information that we have in us can change somebody's life, and we can do it to a point where it's something that they can afford, and they can share that information with others. And so that's just something else that's coming. And we just had knowledge of how to open up these trust accounts when children are born. It doesn't even have to be your child. It could be your niece or your nephew or your grandchild. How you can open up a trust account with them from birth for as low as $35, and you can put in that account whatever you desire to put in there, so that when they get 18 or 21, that they know what it is to have a trust fund. And again, you didn't do it sacrificing your living or your life or going into debt, but you took advantage of knowledge in the markets to be able to open these things up at a bare minimum of cost. But it's life changing to your children and grandchildren, your nieces, your nephew. And so that's something in the um, uh, financial area. We desire to have workshops and just to show people those things, so that, it is something that they can begin to transform their lives with.
Well, Pastor Braceful, this has been a most impressive, delicious, juicy conversation. Thinking about that filet mignon that you talked about earlier. I'm not going to go have one for lunch, but I'm certainly going to have it on my mind. I want to thank Red's Home Rehab for making this phenomenal introduction to a trendsetter and a trailblazer in his own right? Pastor Richard Braceful. Let us know how we can get in contact with you, and we're going to get up out of here. And how can we reach you? The name of your ministry, we haven't even talked about that on the show. And if people are interested in locating you, where should they go?
I am the easiest person to find 2 days a week on Thursday and Sunday. Life in the Spirit Ministries is LITS Ministries at gmail.com. It's Life in the Spirit Ministries on Facebook. We go live 2 days a week, where you can hear messages or just connect with us, and say, hey, I heard Pastor today. I want to reach out. Leave your contact information by email. You can leave it on Facebook, and just connect with us in any type of way. If you email me at pastorbraceful@gmail.com, that's Pastor the regular way. Braceful is BRACE, F as in Frank, UL. It's just like graceful, but instead of a G, you put a B there, and that's at gmail.com. You can contact me there. And I am happy to be able to share the things that I know or point you in the right direction.
And thank you so much for your attendance today, Pastor Braceful. Thank you all for attending the show. Again, this is the Shet Show, Abundance Conversation. It's been an incredible journey of inspiration and empowerment. We're so grateful to have had Pastor Richard Braceful as our special guest. Our mission is to bring you stories that resonate with abundance and success and personal growth. So please be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more inspiring conversations. I wanted to also let you know that you, our listeners, have the opportunity to support the show. With the growth that we're doing, it's taken off exponentially. Started August 11, 2023. There's probably about 11 more people that I have to interview. And so we need to build this team very, very quickly. So your contributions can make a significant impact by helping us bring more meaningful content to your ears. So you're going to see this little thing that pops across how you can donate. We're all over the map in terms of our digital currency. PayPal.com/Sherletta Germain. I did make my name an entity, Pastor. So it's Sherletta Germain, the entity, but you get to talk to the Shet Show guest. And I promised that I would behave today. And I did. Pastor, is it anything that you want to say? Shout out to Red's Home Rehab. Rogers, we love you so much. Thank you for Dreamweaver Arts and all of the platforms that have helped sponsor this particular show. Is there anything that you want to say before we close and you can get us up out of here?
No, thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate the passion that you have for us and our community and your audience. And trust me, you are on a joyous mission that I'm sure is going to produce such great fruit and benefits. But anytime you need me, I'll be glad to come. Thank you.
Well, you heard it here first. We'll see y'all next time on the Shet Show. We'll see y'all next time on the Shet Show. All right. See y'all later.